Welcome to Artkyk. This is Urvacha.
And this is Yamini. We love to talk about art.
So do join us as we share our insights of this world with you. Hi, Yamini.
Hi, Urja. I would like to start asking you, in your article on immersive art, you ended up by saying that Indian art doesn't have a vibrant or doesn't have any experiences of immersive art. You want to take off a little bit on that, or that why is it so that a country that is so vibrant otherwise is quiet on this immersive art experience?
No, absolutely, Yamini. We both got fascinated with whatever we have read and seen across immersive arts. And I guess the attraction to an art form that requires you to be completely submersed in an experience. And as we both sort of know, that experiential art is what's gaining traction across the world because it creates an added link between the viewer and the artwork, as compared to a more traditional art form, which is completely visual and probably requires you to exercise your mind more than what an immersive experience might need. And what I read about it, or sort of the experiments or shows that were becoming popular starting in Europe and US, and of course the groundbreaking work that's happening in Japan, is that an immersive art experience is an art experience that's kind of requiring you to, or allowing you to have an experience that completely submerses your senses and makes an interaction with an artwork so much more profound. Mm-hmm. And if you take this thought process just a little further, you see the immediate parity with how, us as Indians, we interact with any kind of cultural or, I'm saying this word loosely, religious or, any kind of social practice, be it our weddings, our religious festivals, our cultural experiences. It's more than just one interaction. We want the sound, we want some kind of a light experience, we want to be surrounded by these kind of experience. So I know this is a very basic way of sort of allowing you to have this conversation in immersive arts, but to me this is a direct fit with what an immersive arts experience is doing, albeit at a much more again sophisticated level, to the extent it maybe experience one pure art form more thoroughly as compared to a myriad experiences that a cultural event might allow. So that's why we started looking at immersive art, and we realized that there was no such experiment or no such event or program that any of the traditional art galleries or institutions were even thinking about. There was nothing in the pipeline also, forget about anything that exists. And this was, an obvious lacunae that could be identified.
True. No, I agree with you on saying that for a nation that is so much about experiencing all the sensory experiences, when it comes to an art gallery or an art museum experience, suddenly we're quiet on that. And if I can add to that, I think there are two parts of it, just for our listeners so that they know when you talk about immersive, which is one is where you take an existing artwork, typically a master or a classic that's well known. For example, I think what you were referring to was the Van Gogh again. Van Gogh. Choose the one that you like, but I like the same Desi way of saying Van Gogh. That experience kind of spurred everybody on. It started from, blowing up images of his works and allowing people to kind of experience it holistically and like literally be submerged in it. And that is kind of, going viral all over. And there's not just one studio or one company doing it, but there are multiples that have taken off. So you have that as an experience, which is really kind of allowing you to walk into a work of art. And, I understand where there is kind of a hesitancy or nobody has kind of picked it up is because the lack of clarity in how do you use an image, or where do you start? Forget how. I think it goes back to the most simplest thing. Let's say, for example, somebody wanted to take an image of a miniature painting, to take something as non-controversial, which is like, clearly not copy. I mean, it is not copyrighted to a creator. It is in the open domain if you follow the laws, the international laws for using an image. But where do you get that high-res image? It may sound very basic, but I
Yeah.
think that's the crux of the matter, that our custodians, our museums are not as open to the idea of somebody taking an image and blowing it up and creating something that's fun and non-serious, for the lack of a better word, to do something like that, because I think we have a wealth of images in that. So that's
Yeah.
one aspect.
Just to add to your point, I think
Yeah,
we and I was going to ask you this as a follow-up question, but I might interject right now. For us, when we talk about art, in a large respect, we separate it from our other daily experiential interactions. And I think somewhere that has to change, that playfulness that an immersive experience brings in. I mean, for example,
correct.
Van Gogh so popular is because you're experiencing an artwork which is from a master, but you're also somewhere involved in it and you're interacting in it in a very playful manner, even if it's obviously it's maybe more sublime than that. But there is that sense of being involved. And for us, we, to a large extent, with both galleries and institutions, we've never been able to establish that connection with a wider public. So when you bring up
Yeah.
conversations about institutions, I was going to ask you that, what is it that you feel that our institutions, be it public or private, haven't got right, or even the ones that are new haven't got right?
First of all, I think the copyright law needs to be, put out there for people to know, because conceptually the framework is there, but we need to kind of define it better and kind of make it more accessible, make it more friendly. What do I mean by that? Do we have a website where all of this is written? Yes, it's there. Once I kind of spend a lot of time kind of researching and trying to find out what exists, it is all there. But it's just for somebody, maybe it's us, Urja, for us to
Yeah.
take it up and do something and make it more accessible and easier for people to understand what is possible. You see, there's no clarity on that. And
Mm.
you kind of alluded to in your earlier thing also the thing of the market situation. The whole way we look at, if I were just to take our antiquities or medieval art, which we have, it's something that, you can't play around with. The
Yeah.
playfulness is missing. And I think that is very important, to make it an as simple language as possible, to make the information available, and to say that, hey, this is an accepted and this is a fun way to engage with art. You're not kind of detracting from the
Mm.
core values. You're not detracting the seriousness of the message, but you're just allowing a different way to access that work. Does that answer what you were
No,
asking?
absolutely, it answers, because we have discussed this separately on some occasions. We have not been able to break this, the thought process that to interact with art or to understand art, you need to know some secret knowledge. At the end of the day,
Yeah.
art is just something that artists have created as an expression of their thoughts and emotions. As normal people, and they, as an artist, obviously they have an expression that's uniquely theirs. But that expression or that emotion can be available or accessible by, anybody or everybody, because, they are largely universal emotions and thoughts.
Absolutely true. I completely agree, on that particular point. But to kind of move it further, we can keep on talking about this thing because it's such an interesting topic. But I think there's another part which we need to explore, which
Mm.
you kind of mentioned, saying that what Japan has in terms of immersive art, which
Yeah.
is one of my favorites, which is Steam Labs and the kind of work that they do.
Mm.
And they've really converted the whole experience. Some of their works are experiencing a walk in a forest, or you get the whole feel of that you're submerged in a fog and water. I personally haven't seen that, but just by looking at some of their online experiences which are available, I think it's phenomenal. And I feel like, again, this alludes to the point that we as a nation are, a big fat Indian wedding, or the
Yeah.
whole Indian celebration of
Mm.
Diwali. the moment you talk about these things, it becomes exotic. It
Yeah.
tends to get into a kind of a character, and those you've seen it so much in movies, and when you read about certain things, it almost becomes predictable. And I think
Mm.
that's one of the reasons why artists possibly, again, this is kind of a guesswork that I'm doing here, shy away from this whole sensorial experience. Not to say that they've not done it. There are a few who have done it, but they're still kind of holding back, is my sense of it. And also the other thing is technology, the use of the the solutions
Technology,
that are
yes.
required, or the equipment that is required, and they're not exactly accessible, or even if they are, they're extremely expensive. And that's where patronage comes in.
Mm.
Supporting artists when they want to create an experience and leave it as an experience. And this feeds into the thing that, again, our art market is at still, I would say, at a nascency, which is sad given that we've been around for at least over 2 decades. We still want that object to be ours at the end of the day when you've kind of
Yeah.
supported something. And that's why you have so few collectors or patrons or exhibitions that deal with video art. There was recently a festival on video art. you know the numbers are very limited because it's not easy for the artists to kind of survive in that space when the infrastructure
Mm-hmm.
doesn't exist. And again, I slide into this whole thing where I say that for any art form to flourish or to experiment or to be experimental, you need to have a great infrastructure. What is this infrastructure? It means in terms of fellowships, it means in terms of opportunities for artists to create this work.
No, at a
Until
very basic level, Yamni, I mean, if you look at Japan, Japan has traditionally always been a very tech focused, always, in the last 50, 70 years, tech friendly society. And arts have just automatically become part of that conversation. For us, technology is a whole different conversation, and in a very sort of typical Indian structural world, different stream of studies and vocation and future employment versus art, which is considered to be very sort of, and excuse my way of putting this, but 1940s 1950s sort of understanding of this maverick
mm,
with a paintbrush and a canvas. And but the world has moved much beyond that, and the kind of consumer arts we see right now, which are immersive shows, are an evidence of that. But we have not been able to bring these two paths together. We're still walking this. It still appears sometimes they're two parallel paths. Either you're a technology person or you're an artist, as compared to everything
true.
means and an ends and a tool. Considering how well India has done in the tech world, and all these articles are all over the world, sort of world right now about all the top, tech executives in Silicon Valley being of Indian origin, does
Exactly.
not reflect anywhere in the art world. And I mean, it's mystifying somewhere.
Yeah, it's frustrating, to say that why does it happen? It's not like it's not there. Why does everything have to be into, an application that ultimately feeds into something that has to be commercial, that has to see a
Yeah.
monetary return? That's a frustration I think a
Hmm.
whole lot of artists out there must be feeling. If we as non-practitioners experience it and get a sense of that, I'm
And
sure,
our industry
this.
has also not facilitated this. The commercially successful artists, and we know there are a handful really, in the vast canvas that exists of artists, the
True.
only ones that continue to appear in auctions and private sales and get sold and resold and higher values. But everything else is, unless it's already successful, doesn't see the light of day.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I think it boils down to, I think, a simple thing that there's a huge potential for this in terms of both ways. Either way, you look at artworks, which need to be kind of experienced and spoken about, in the direction of Van Gogh, or the other one where you have artists creating these experiences, which are completely experiences on their own and which attract younger audiences, which attract people into that space and start a dialogue and create something that's so fascinating. I think we have we don't have any answers, we don't have solutions, but we only have angst and we have ideas regarding this whole experience of immersive art. And I hope that this kind of leads into multiple conversations and our listeners, somebody has, concept that they're just waiting to share and it kickstarts something new.
Yeah.
And I think that's what we want to do. Talking and bringing up these issues with some new ideas coming in.
No, it's some capital behind it, some sense of a way forward, and it'll help, both the tech industry and the art industry. So it's not that, one will get excluded. And I think it'll bring a lot of people into the art space who sometimes shy away from what is possibly a perceived sterile nature of an interaction with an artwork.
True. I think it's a fantastic conversation, Urvaja. I think we should leave it at that. Otherwise, we can go on forever.
Yes.
Super. So, till the next time.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye. You were listening to Artkyk, where we share personal views on subjects in the art world.
For more such content, please visit our website www.artkyk.com. That's ARTKYK. Keep listening.